So about a month ago, I shared my massive, over 1,000 volume manga collection, which is absolutely insane, but believe it or not, my addiction for physical media doesn't just end there, not by a long shot. Hey, what's going on guys? My name is ThePromG. Welcome back to a brand new video. Now, I understand that some of you guys watching this video are my subscribers who watch me for my manga content, and others of you have absolutely no idea who I am. As you can see from the books behind me, I dedicate most of my collecting efforts towards manga collecting, but I happen to be a big fan of movies, which brings us to today's video where I'm finally going to show off my updated movie collection. Now, I haven't actually counted the number of movies I have since I did my last movie collection video like over a year ago, so you'll see it in the title, but I have a lot more than I did last time, and all these movies are movies that I just absolutely love and I want to talk about and share with you guys in this video. I won't rabble on for too much longer, but I will say if you're watching this video because you're interested in movies, I don't talk a whole lot about movies on this channel, very rarely in fact, but if you want to keep up to date with what I'm watching and the movies I'm enjoying, you can feel free to follow me on Letterboxd. It's at ThePromG. I'll put a link to my Letterboxd account in the description below. Feel free to add me as a friend on there if you enjoy movies and want to see what I'm enjoying. But enough with all the precursors, I am ready to talk about my movie collection now. So without any further ado, let's head on over to the shelves and I'll show you my updated movie collection for 2025. Alright, so starting things off at the top here, we have my VHS tape collection. Now, I try to keep this collection pretty small and curated only really to movies, horror movies specifically, that I feel like have some novelty to watching in a lower fidelity format. I'm not sure if that really makes sense, but as you can see here, we have Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, of course, love this cover, Halloween 4, and Halloween 5, which I all have on higher quality formats, so we'll get into that later. Then we have Alien, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, another one of my favorite VHS covers in my collection. Then we have The Blair Witch, which I do own on Blu-ray, but this is probably the best example of a movie that's fun to watch on a lower fidelity format, just because that's kind of how I think it was intended to be seen, so this is an awesome tape. Then we have Scream, which is like this blue variant. I forget exactly what this variant is. There are a couple of these ones with blue covers. Then we have maybe my favorite tape in my entire collection, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of my favorite horror movies, as you'll see a little bit later into the video, but this is, again, a movie that's awesome to watch in a lower fidelity format like VHS. Love the cover, love the box art, just an awesome and one of the rare tapes in my collection here. Then we have The Thing, The Wicker Man, and Jaws. So that rounds out my VHS collection. Again, don't want this to grow too big, but I really like where it's at right now. Then moving over here, we have my Twin Peaks collection Blu-ray. This is the entire series as well as the reboot, Twin Peaks: The Return. I don't think any of the movies are on, but I have those later, so we'll get into that when we get into it. But I love this show so much. Rest in peace to David Lynch, of course. I think this is one of the best TV shows I've ever watched. Unfortunately, this Blu-ray collection is really ass. Like, there are so many discs in here, they always fall out, so I would recommend getting another version of this if you want to collect Twin Peaks physically, but it's nice to have the entire show in one collection, so I'll give it that. I'm gonna move Leatherface out of here real quick to show this Stanley Kubrick Blu-ray box set we have here. I do have most of these Blu-rays in their own single cases in other releases, but a couple in here, like Eyes Wide Shut and Lita, we still don't have in 4K, so until then I have this really cool box set, really nice packaging and booklet in here that tells about the movies. Then behind where the Leatherface bobblehead was, who's still bobbing away there, we have my Texas Chainsaw Massacre Blu-ray slash DVD slash 4K collection. I love collecting these different releases of the movie when I come across them, so I'll show these a little bit more in detail. First on top here we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 40th Anniversary Collector's Edition. This is a pretty cool Blu-ray where you can swap out this cover and it has him in the doorway when you first see him in the movie. Then we have the DVD Steelbook, which I believe is actually one of the first ever Steelbooks for physical movies that was ever put out. Someone can fact check me on that, but still very cool looking cover there. Next we have this 4K, which I believe is a German release, so it has a steelbook in there. You can see it's not in English on the back. Just love this artwork. Then we have this US release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4K. Love this slipcover, one of the best in my entire collection. The Blu-ray Steelbook, nothing too crazy about this, but I do like this artwork. Final one we have here is this really cool DVD that has the still fresh after 30 years special edition. This is a really cool one I found at my local store for like 10 bucks. I don't really collect DVDs, but this one is just so cool, I had to pick it up. On the next shelf down, we have my Criterion collection. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with Criterion, but if you're not, basically one of the more prominent boutique labels that takes some of the best movies from around the world, puts them in some really nice packaging, loaded up with great special features. So we'll go ahead and get into this, I guess, real quick. I'll show this Across the Spider-Verse, not Criterion, but I'm borrowing this from a friend, haven't seen it yet. So we'll put that up here and get back with the rest of the stuff. I guess we can start with these two Blu-rays that I just don't really have room for that fell over. First, we have The Color of Pomegranates, super abstract film that roughly tells the life of, I believe, an Armenian poet. This is not one that I would like sit down and watch for entertainment value, but it's a really cool artistic movie that I would recommend if you're into abstract art house films. This is one you should definitely try. Then we have The Wages of Fear. Kind of funny thing about this one, this is one of the greatest French movies I think of all time, and then actually has an American remake that some people think is even better. And then only recently, I think like last year or two, another French filmmaker actually tried his hand at the modern remake of this, and it absolutely sucked. So really cool story with this, but of course this original here is just awesome. So I guess we'll start off here on the top so we can move these out of the way. We have The Thin Red Line, Celine and Julie Go Boating, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. These three I have not seen yet. Then we have the Before trilogy, 3 films by Richard Linklater. Love this trilogy, especially the first and the third one. The second one I still think is really good, but those first and third are just magic. Then we have Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho. Come and see, one of the most harrowing war films I've ever seen. Amores Perros, this is a great film by the director who made Birdman. Yeah, both those films are just absolutely amazing. We'll see Birdman a little bit later. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, really fun high school hangout movie, absolute classic. Babette's Feast, have not seen this one yet. We have one Arrow video Blu-ray. This is The Apartment. Really great movie with Jack Lemmon. I don't know if this is on any other boutique labels, but the features on this are great. I just love this release, and this cover is really cool. Then we have Inland Empire by David Lynch. Have not seen. Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Great psychological horror movie. 39 Steps, Alfred Hitchcock, have not seen. The Blowout, amazing John Travolta movie. One of the first movies I saw with him in it, and I was just blown away, no pun intended. And then we have The Celebration by Thomas Vinterberg. Really cool packaging on this one. As you can see, it has like this clear cover. You can see the inserts right in there, has the runtime on the cover. This is actually my 3rd favorite movie of all time, and this director also has my #1 favorite movie of all time, which we'll get into later. But yeah, The Celebration, I picked this up because the packaging was cool on the Barnes & Noble half-off sale, and man, I'm so glad I picked this up. Such an amazing film. But moving down below that, we have the 3 Colors trilogy. If I had to rank these, I'd rank them red, white, and blue from favorite to least favorite, but I love all of these. Want to get the 4K upgrade eventually on this. Then from the same director, we have Decalogue. I think this is like 10 short films, as well as a couple other films. Then we have the Citizen Kane 4K, one of my all-time favorites. Another one of my all-time favorites, this is the Trainspotting 4K. Not a big fan of this kind of like folder packaging they did, but this movie is just amazing. Have yet to check out this transfer, which some people didn't like the some of the color grading changes, I think, but this movie is just so great. I'm sure I'll enjoy it nevertheless. Then we have Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa, of course, an all-time classic. Do the Right Thing, which actually already owned on 4K, but this Criterion packaging and the features are just so cool. Then we have Lone Wolf and Cub. There are 6 movies in this Blu-ray. Love the manga, and I've watched half of these movies, so need to get back and finish the rest of those. Parasite, of course, a movie needs no introduction, one of the greatest of all time. The Elephant Man, another 5 out of 5 movie that I only just watched recently. Actually watched this the day that it was announced David Lynch passed away, and I just was kicking myself I haven't seen this sooner because it's so touching, but still has that cold Lynchian feel that I love so much. We got some more David Lynch here. We got Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead, which actually have a big poster up there on my wall of. Then we have Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. Like I said, love Twin Peaks, and this movie was great, very harrowing. Then we have the Blue Velvet 4K as well as the Lost Highway 4K. And getting more into the Blu-rays, starting off here, we have Dazed and Confused, my favorite hangout movie of all time. I watch this like once a year, it's just so much fun. Next we have Jackie Chan, Police Story and Police Story 2. I especially love Police Story 1, one of the best action movies, especially martial arts movies, ever created. The stunts are just so amazing. Then we have Uncut Gems 4K, very stress-inducing movie, great Adam Sandler performance. And getting into more of the standard stuff, we have High and Low, an Akira Kurosawa movie I just recently watched, and I wasn't drawn in immediately, but as it kind of finished up and got into its second act, I loved this one. The Cranes Are Flying, my favorite Russian movie ever, one of the greatest war films I think ever. Amazing cinematography in that one. Throne of Blood, before I watched Seven Samurai, this was my favorite Akira Kurosawa movie, and though Seven Samurai has surpassed it as far as my rankings, still a great one here. Then we have The Rules of the Game. This was a blind buy, but I really like this one. Super funny, full of energy. The characters are super colorful in this one. Then we have Orson Welles, F for Fake, kind of a mockumentary about forgeries and lies. Just an amazing work of art. Orson Welles is like the coolest dude to ever exist. Harakiri, this is my favorite samurai movie of all time. There's a reason it's so high up on the Letterboxd ranking. This one is a masterpiece. Now I know I'm gonna butcher this, but I believe this is pronounced Le'en or Le'en. I actually had a French speaker school me on it only recently how to pronounce this, and I already forgot, but yeah, amazing movie. You guys know this one. Then we have the Human Condition trilogy. Have not seen any of these yet. They're very long, so you kind of got to block out an afternoon or an evening just to commit to this. Paths of Glory, one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick movies. We have House, actually made an entire video based on this movie, so I'll link a card to that somewhere up in a corner here. The Killing by Stanley Kubrick, very underrated film in his filmography. 12 Angry Men, one of the best Criterion covers, obviously a classic movie, so this is a great release. Then we have my favorite silent movie. This is Safety Last. If any of you guys have seen any of the behind the footage on how they use like optical illusions and practical effects to do some of the iconic scenes and stunts from this movie, it'll definitely give you some appreciation for silent films of this era, and this is just a really funny and heartfelt movie at times. Gotta love Safety Last. Then we have Manchurian Candidate. It's kind of funny. Coincidentally, I watched this the day that the failed assassination attempt on Donald Trump took place. So it was kind of like a weird whiplash kind of moment. Amazing movie, by the way. And we have Barry Lyndon, my probably second or first favorite Stanley Kubrick movie. Amazing period piece. Midnight Cowboy, great movie as well. Some Like It Hot. And finally, When We Were Kings. If you like boxing or sports, this is a must-watch documentary. Can't recommend this enough. Now moving down here, we're getting into some of my horror stuff, which you guys couldn't tell is one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite genre. It definitely makes up a good chunk of my collection. So we'll start things off here. I want to show this Scream bobblehead that my friend got me for Christmas. This is a really cool one. You'll see a couple bobbleheads on the shelves. But moving Ghostface out of the way, we'll get into the Blu-rays and some DVDs here. So I guess we'll start from the top here. We have the Nightmare on Elm Street 4K. This just came out. I have not seen the 4K yet, but of course, this is a classic horror movie, so I had to add it to the collection day one. Then below that, we have the Nightmare on Elm Street DVD box set. This has all the movies on DVD, and you know, honestly, I'm fine with owning these on DVD because aside from 1, 2, and 3, I'm not really a big fan of any of these movies. So having these on DVD, especially with their really nice individual casing and artwork, is fine enough for me. We'll keep going on the top here. We have Jaws on 4K, The Shining on 4K, and Terrifier 2 on 4K. Got actually this Terrifier 2 at my local store before I watched Terrifier, so I actually watched 1, 2, and 3, all the films that are out at this point. 2 is my least favorite. Actually really like the first Terrifier, which is probably a hot take, but still enjoy Terrifier 2 nevertheless. Then moving up here, we have Alien Romulus on 4K. Love this kind of embossed slipcover they got. This was one of the very few 4Ks I got on day one for full retail price, just because I really wanted that slipcover, and I love this movie so much. Might be my favorite in the entire franchise. Another hot take. Then we have Halloween 2018 on 4K, Blu-ray for the Saw 8 film collection. I believe I've watched through 5, so I have to get through the rest of these. We'll get to my favorite Saw movie in a second here. These movies are not the best, but they're still a good time nevertheless. And then we have Predator 4 movie collection. I believe this is Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and The Predator, which is actually a guilty pleasure movie of mine, but this is a great set. Love these movies. Then below that, we have my Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set. This is such a cool looking box set. I'll pull it out and show the artwork on the side, but yeah, this is a very fun franchise. Not all the movies are winners, but my favorites would have to be the final chapter, my favorite, Jason Lives, and I love Jason X actually, which I think is getting a 4K pretty soon, so I'm excited for that. Next to that we have The Hitcher, which I believe this is a 4K, the collector's edition from Second Sight. As you can see, it's a European release that I had to get imported, still sealed, but I have of course seen this movie, one of my favorite horror movies ever. You're gonna probably hear me say that a lot, but there is so many movies I love. The premise of this movie starts out pretty simple, but it comes kind of like a supernatural film where this guy is like stalking this guy. He shows up at every turn just to terrorize him. Just an amazing movie. Then we have George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead 4K. Watched this very recently, I think like a couple months ago. Love this, one of my favorite zombie movies ever. The mall setting that it takes place in is so cool. We have a couple copies of Pumpkinhead. This is kind of interesting because Pumpkinhead is by no means one of my favorite horror movies, but the steelbook is really cool, and the 4K, I mean, is just even cooler. And I really appreciate the practical effects and the actual Pumpkinhead creature design, how they bring it to life in this movie. The characters, the human characters are absolute ass, but I still enjoy this one a good amount. Next, we have the Carrie 4K Steelbook. Love this cover, and a great De Palma movie who's more known for his kind of action movies. When I found out that this was actually made by him, it just all made sense because the quality is so high here. Then we have Psycho Blu-ray Steelbook. I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I still really enjoy it. Again, probably one I need to give another watch, but yeah, of course, a Hitchcock classic, and the Steelbook is very cool. Then we have Train to Busan Blu-ray Steelbook. Got this for really cheap. Again, another really cool looking Steelbook. There's a lot of tension and fear in this one, as you could expect from a zombie movie, but also some very big emotions, especially near the end. If you know, you know. Then we have probably my favorite steelbook in my entire collection. We have this German import of The Wicker Man, one of my favorite horror movies, and had to get it on 4K. Just a beautiful kind of horror musical. I know you really don't think of those two things going together, but this movie is just beautiful from start to finish. Then we have John Carpenter's The Thing, amazing movie, obviously. John Carpenter's Halloween on 4K, and the Halloween Complete Collection from, I believe, Scream Factory. This box is supposed to look weathered. I didn't damage this on my own, but you can see we have all the Halloween movies up until 2018, which we then have right next to it in the Halloween trilogy on Blu-ray. I'm a fan of 2018 Halloween. I think Halloween Kills is absolute ass, only really serves to be like the second in a trilogy, in my opinion. Has some crazy kills though. And then Halloween Ends is actually my favorite of this trilogy, and is my second favorite Halloween movie besides the original last time I checked. So yeah, I guess a bunch of horror hot takes. Feel free to argue with me in the comments below. And then we have Halloween 5 on 4K here. Another hot take, I think this is a really good Halloween, and probably my third or fourth favorite in the entire series. And it has this really nice hardcover slipcase from Scream Factory, which I believe is pretty rare actually. Then we have the Chucky 7 movie collection. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This is my favorite horror franchise of all time. I think that the consistency of the movies is really high, especially love Child's Play 2. Actually, it reminds me, I forgot to show you guys my Child's Play 2 Jack in the Box statue I got recently for 25 bucks. I mean, that is a steal, and you guys know, I love the bobbleheads. Then we have the newest Child's Play. I think this is 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Not as good as the, I wouldn't call them mainline, but you know what I mean, the original Chucky movies, but I still think it's pretty good. Then we have Saw X 4K. This is my favorite Saw movie by far. Saw this in the theaters. It was me, my sister, and her boyfriend, and the only other people in the theater was this morbidly obese couple that were jerking each other off, like right in front of us, moaning. But that's a story for another day. I still enjoyed my theatrical experience with this movie, and I'm excited for where this series goes, which is something I would not have said a few years ago. Then we have the Alien 40th Anniversary 4K. I'm gonna make all you collectors cringe super hard right now. Oh, what is that? Yeah, I know, I got this secondhand from my local hobby shop. They put these stickers on the top. Never had an issue until this. I mean, that's just painful, but you know, this 4K is just a beautiful transfer, I think one of the best. And of course, Alien is a horror and sci-fi classic that I don't even need to go into anymore. Then we have actually a controversial 4K transfer. We have James Cameron's Aliens. People were bitching about the cover, they're bitching about the transfer, and all sorts of other stuff. Personally, I think it's fine. I'm gonna have an even more controversial James Cameron 4K take in a minute here, but I still love this movie. I think that 4K transfer is really good. Then for the rest of the Alien franchise, I have it on Blu-ray in the Alien 6-film collection, as well as the AVP double feature and Prey on 4K, which recently came out a couple years ago on Hulu, I think it was. This should have got a theatrical release because this movie was awesome, but I'm really excited for the future of Predator. I think we're even getting some more movies in the franchise, with one this year, I believe. And now we're moving down to the second half, I guess, of my horror movie collection. So as you can see, I have the ones in back on risers. We'll get the ones in front out of the way first, and we'll move on to the back. So starting off here, we have the Scream Factory Alligator 4K. This is one of my all-time, like, most fun monster movies. It's kind of like Jaws if it took place in a sewer with way more humor, and not always like even intentional humor. I mean, of course, this movie's called Alligator. It's about a giant alligator rampaging through a city. It's just dumb fun, but part of dumb fun is fun. So yeah, I think this is a really fun movie. I would definitely recommend. Then we have the original Invisible Man on 4K. Great movie, one of my favorites of the Universal monster movies. We have Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Love Evil Dead 2. Really like the Evil Dead. Then we have Army of Darkness. There's a pretty big tonal shift from the first two movies, going more comedy than horror, but I still have a very fun time with this. But I gotta say, when this franchise returned to full-fledged horror again, it was very welcome. I absolutely love Evil Dead 2013. Here we have the 4K collector's edition with the slipcover. Love that movie. And actually probably going to be a hot take, but Evil Dead Rise, I saw this in theaters. I was so excited. I actually didn't love it, but I bought the 4K nevertheless so I can return to this, and hopefully I'll enjoy it more. Then next to that, we have the complete first season of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Have not gotten into this show yet, but I got the Blu-ray for like $5 at my local store, so I had to pick it up. Then next to that, we have X and Pearl. Don't have Maxine, but nevertheless, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Maxine, I think this is one of, if not the best, horror trilogies to ever come out. Pearl especially, this kind of prologue to X, I love this one so much. I honestly think Mia Goth is a legend in the making, especially in horror. If she keeps up making movies in the genre, I think we'll get some more classics down the pipeline for sure. Next, we have Edge of the Axe from Arrow Video. Based on the cover, this kind of looks like it'd be a Halloween Friday the 13th ripoff, and it totally is, but it is so much more than that. There's absolutely brutal kills in this one, and also a really cute main girl, which probably made me enjoy this movie even more just every time she was on screen, but super underrated slasher, highly recommend. Then we have the Jaws 3 movie collection, that is Jaws 2, Jaws 3, and Jaws the Revenge. Only seen Jaws 2 from this. I'm not in a big rush to get to the last two because I've heard they're absolute ass. Wasn't even a fan of Jaws 2, but still will get to those eventually. Then we have The Lighthouse, amazing black and white horror movie, some great performances from Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Then we have The Rocky Horror Picture Show, very wacky movie. Black Christmas, rewatched this on 4K very recently during the Christmas season. I think this is the scariest movie I've ever seen. Just so creepy and unsettling even after you finish it. That's when you know you've got a good horror movie. Then we have Rosemary's Baby on 4K, again a classic. Happy Birthday to Me, very odd movie. Not sure if I would recommend this one, but still worth a watch if you're looking for something very interesting with a really fucked up ending. We have Jordan Peele's Us on 4K, Pan's Labyrinth, which I haven't seen yet, The Lost Boys, amazing cheesy vampire movie. This one's a whole lot of fun. We have The Exorcist, Sleepaway Camp, love this one. One of the craziest movie endings ever, if not the craziest in all of horror. If you know, you know. If you don't, watch this movie blind. Do yourself a favor. It is crazy. Then we have the Conjuring 2 film collection, the Blob collector's edition from Scream Factory. This is the monster movie from the 80s. Love that one to death. Christine on 4K, amazing Stephen King adaptation. Killer Party, this is a really interesting one. This is a horror movie based off of the April Fool's Day holiday. You know, you get some Christmas and Thanksgiving themed movies here and there for horror, but never an April Fool's one. This is a really interesting one. Then we have Three from Hell, Rob Zombie film. Not a lot of people like this one. I actually thought it was pretty solid. We have the 5-movie Phantasm collection. I've seen the first 2. I enjoy them. I hear some of the other ones aren't as good, but still gonna watch them nevertheless. Midsummer, actually have not seen this movie, which is crazy because, like, if you ask somebody who doesn't watch horror their favorite horror movie, they're probably gonna say Midsummer, and I haven't even seen it yet, so I'll get to that one eventually. Then we have Poltergeist on 4K, the Omen collection, only seen the first one. And speaking of the first Omen, we have the actual first Omen, which came out in 2024. Super surprising that this was as good as it was. This is probably almost up there with the original Omen for me. That's how good it is. Then of course, next to that, holding it all together, we have this Michael Myers bobblehead with the sheet on him. Very cool little guy there. All right, so I moved the movies in front out of the way. As you can see, I have like these $3 tubs I got from Target that I'm using as risers. They do a pretty good job. Unfortunately, it's not big enough. My shelves aren't big enough to put a third one there and have it look good. So yeah, it kind of just is what it is, but I still think they do the job pretty well. Moving on to the back here, we have the Blair Witch Project and Blair Witch. Blair Witch Project, I think, is the best found footage horror movie of all time, and some people think it hasn't aged as well because people know it's not a true story like they did when it originally came out. But I still think just watching these characters get lost, again with the low fidelity format that it's supposed to be shot in, and you know, just seeing them descend into madness is just awesome. I love this movie so much. And I actually think that Blair Witch, which came out, I think in the 2010s, is actually a pretty solid horror movie, though not nearly as good as the original. Then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, a movie I'm not super hot on, but I'm a big fan of the Texas Chainsaw franchise, so I have it in the collection. Then we have Leatherface, love that one, especially with the little mini pocket chainsaw that Leatherface has in that one. Then we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I'm super nostalgic for this one. This was the first Texas Chainsaw movie I watched, and for a while it was actually my favorite. There's so many iconic shots and a great physical performance by Leatherface in this one. Then we have this kind of prequel to the remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, which I also think is super underrated. Then we have the Leatherface. I think this movie came out in like, what, 2017, I want to say. We have this steelbook I got from the used store. Not super hot on this movie either, but I still think it's decent, and the steelbook looks really nice. Then we have Texas Chainsaw 3D, which I gotta flex the little lenticular there. Ooh, that's so clean, but people will give this movie a lot of shit. I think it is so much dumb fun. The classic line near the end.
Do your thing, cuz.
I mean, how are you not gonna watch that and just have a massive smile on your face? I won't get haters of that movie. I won't allow it. This one is so fun. Then we have some Hellraiser movies. We have Hellraiser 1 and 2 in the little double feature there. We have this ugly looking Hellraiser series multi-feature, which has Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, and Hellworld. I actually really like these 3 movies. This one sucks major dick, but these actually have like as 6 or 7s out of 10. I have some good fun with them, especially Hellraiser Bloodlines. I think is a super cool concept. And then we have Hellraiser Judgment on Blu-ray. Not one of the stronger ones, but I still think this is like a solid 6 out of 10, and I enjoy watching it, so got the Blu-ray in the collection. Next, we're moving on to the Scream movies, another one of my favorite franchises, really pretty consistent. We have Scream 1 through 3 in that 3-movie collection, Scream 4, one of my favorites, then we have Scream 5, and Scream 6 on 4K, which actually got very recently. I enjoy the new ones, but I gotta say the first, the second, and the fourth one are just a tier above that will never be matched. But I think the future of this series is kind of in limbo with some actors returning and not returning, so we'll see what the future of this series holds, but I'm still going to be excited for the next Scream movie nevertheless. Now, I already showed you my 3 from Hell 4K Steelbook, but here we have the other 2 movies in the Firefly trilogy, The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. Especially love House of a Thousand Corpses. Wasn't super hot on Devil's Rejects, which I know is going to be a hot take. We have The Thing from Another World. This is the movie that John Carpenter's The Thing was based off of, and say what you will, I think this is still an amazing movie. No, it's not quite as scary as The Thing by John Carpenter, nor does it have the best practical effects, obviously, but this is still a very interesting movie. Dialogue is great, and you still have that feeling of untrustworthiness and tension that you do with the John Carpenter masterpiece. So this one is still, in my opinion, very well worth checking out. Then we have Trick or Treat, great little horror anthology. A couple Jordan Peele films. We have Nope, which I need to get on 4K because I love that movie, and Get Out. Then we have David Cronenberg's The Fly, one of the best monster movies ever. Jeff Goldblum gives an amazing performance in the makeup in that one. Is absolutely disgusting. Then we have, a lot of people didn't even know this movie exists, but there's actually sequels to The Fly. Here I have The Fly 2, which I actually think is a pretty good movie, but if you guys have seen it, you'll know that the dog stuff in this one, it's just really sad. I don't know if I want to put myself through watching that one again, but still a very enjoyable movie if you haven't seen it yet. Next to that, we have, of course, Silence of the Lambs. Some people don't consider horror. I do, and I think it's an absolute classic. Then we have The Witch. We have It, 2017. Dawn of the Dead. This is the Zack Snyder version, I believe. I actually really like this. I would give like a 4 out of 5. It's not as good as the George A. Romero, the original. I still think Snyder does a great job adapting it. And again, zombies in a shopping mall, how can you go wrong with that? And you guys know the hot takes just never end, but here we have actually my favorite of the George A. Romero zombie trilogy. We have Day of the Dead. Just love everything about this, especially some of these zombie performances are really good, but they're trapped in this bunker. It's very claustrophobic and just overall an amazingly made movie. Then we have a movie called Dark House, which I wouldn't blame you if you've never heard of. This is directed by Victor Salva, who I believe made Jeepers Creepers. I know he's a piece of shit, you don't have to tell me in the comments. I believe produced by James Wan. Tobin Bell is also actor in this one. And I think this is a hidden gem, honestly. People don't like this movie. I like this movie. I think it does something really unique. I think it's definitely very creepy. This is just one that I think you need to go into blind because it definitely takes some big swings. It tries to do a lot, but I have a lot of fun with this one, honestly. And I'm gonna get through the rest of these quickly because, as you can see, my stack is kind of falling over. We have Donnie Darko, great movie. Maniac Cop, which is actually one of my very few 5 out of 5 horror movies, and Maniac Cop 2 is not far behind it. Just great movies. Maniac Cop 3, not quite as good, but man, these first two, definitely worth the watch. Then we have Creepshow, classic horror anthology. Night of the Living Dead, not a movie I really enjoy watching. It's one of those ones where I appreciate it more than I actually enjoy watching it, but it's still classic, so I got it in the collection. And Tremors, obviously classic Kevin Bacon kind of monster horror movie. That one's a whole lot of fun. And then over here we have this DVD called Cigarette Burns. This is kind of like a TV movie from John Carpenter. I think it is really good. If you're fascinated by lost media, I think that this one is definitely one you should check out. And then the last thing on this shelf is Malice Doll. Now, I actually found out about this from High C Song, if you know, you know. But this is kind of like an anime anthology, I want to say, kind of collection that kind of functions as a continuous movie. But I'll just let you read the reviews on the back here. Yeah, it's about android hookers. And in my opinion, there's nothing more charming than shitty 3D animation from the 2000s. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would proceed with caution if you were weirded out pretty easily, but beyond that, this is a super interesting one and one I'm really glad to have in the collection. All right, so moving down, we finally arrived at the final shelf in my movie collection on this bookcase. I also have this one over here with 4Ks, which we'll get into after this, but we'll real quick go through these double stack Blu-rays we have here. These are alphabetized, but since we're starting in the front, it's gonna be a little out of order. We'll start with, over here we have Lord of the Rings, Man with No Name trilogy, great Westerns, especially love, of course, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Then we have Memento, mid-90s, which I believe was directed by Jonah Hill. That's right. I still have not seen this one, but I've heard some great things about it. Next, we have Moonlight. I still think La La Land should have won that Best Picture, but this movie is still definitely very deserving. Amazing film. Then we have Bong Joon-ho's Mother. This is like right after Parasite as my favorite movie from him. If you've only seen Parasite and none of his other stuff, I would highly recommend this one. Then we have Nightcrawler. I'm a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. This is my favorite movie from him, I think. Then No Country for Old Men. Plan on getting the Criterion 4K once the next 50% off sale comes around. Then we have Office Space, great comedy movie. If you've ever worked in an office setting, there's so much humor I bet you'll really love. Paid in Full, kind of like Scarface, but with dope dealing. This is a great one, it has Wood Harris in it, and Cameron. I forget Cameron's in this one, but so many quotables from this. Just an amazing movie. Almost probably like it as much as Scarface. That's how much I like this one. Then we have Project X, hot take. I actually enjoyed this more than Superbad. I'm just nostalgic for the music and the time period at which this movie came out. Then we have Prisoners, another amazing Jake Gyllenhaal movie. We have Pulp Fiction, which I actually only watched for the first time last year. And man, I see what all the hype is about. Some people think it's overhyped, but I think it is perfectly hyped. This one is super fun. Then we have The Raid, Redemption, and The Raid 2. It's still so funny to me that this movie is the first movie, and they decided to call it The Raid Redemption instead of just The Raid. But I think this is one of the best action movies ever made. Just the choreography, the sound design, it's just amazing. But most people actually prefer The Raid 2, which I think is super overrated. I just thought this movie was really boring outside of the action sequences that, of course, are amazing. I did not get invested in this story at all, but definitely need to give that one another watch. Then we have Raging Bull, Scorsese classic, Rear Window from Hitchcock, Red Army, which, if I remember correctly, is a documentary about the Russian national hockey team during, I believe, the Cold War. I remember really enjoying this one, so when I found it for super cheap on Blu-ray, had to pick it up. Then we have RoboCop 1 through 3 in that little Blu-ray trilogy there. We have Samsara, which is a movie that is kind of like a documentary thing. Doesn't have any words, but has a beautiful soundtrack, beautiful imagery, kind of gives some commentary on our current world as far as things go, like pollution, technology, and just human society and nature. This is a very beautiful watch, highly recommend it. Then we have 7, which actually just replaced with the recent 4K that came out, so probably should get rid of that. Then we have The Suicide Squad, Star Wars, obviously the prequels, and the original trilogy. Some of the best sci-fi movies to date, not the prequels. The originals are so amazing to this day, of course. Superbad, really fun. Synecdoche, New York, very mind-bending movie if you're into that kind of thing. Training Day, There Will Be Blood, a movie I think is a little bit overrated but still really enjoy. The Third Man, great Orson Welles performance. Unbreakable, classic. Disney's Up, one of the few Disney movies I have, but come on, you just gotta have Up. War Dogs, very, very fun comedy movie. Personally, I think one of Jonah Hill's best movies. When Harry Met Sally, I remember when I was watching this for the first time, my dad called me out for watching a chick flick. But if loving When Harry Met Sally is wrong, I don't want to be right. This is an amazing movie. Then we have the Whiplash Blu-ray Steelbook, The Wolf on Wall Street, It's a Wonderful Life, one of my all-time favorite movies. Youth, then we have Zodiac, the director's cut, pretty good movie, I think a little bit overrated, but I still really enjoyed it. Zootopia, another one of my favorite Disney movies. We have The Favorite from Yorgos Lanthimos. Have not seen this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it because I really enjoy his other stuff. Then we have Go Into Guy's Lion Girl. This was a blind buy. Recently picked this up at the local store for cheap. Don't think it's going to be good, but I have it nevertheless. Then we have Downton Abbey Season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. Really enjoy. Gundam Seed Remaster Part 2 I'm trying to sell. Don't know why it's on my Blu-ray shelf with my actual movies in my collection, but yeah, want to buy this? Let me know. And the last thing we have in front here is one of my favorite movies ever that unfortunately does not have a Blu-ray. Maybe someday, but The Namesake, a movie about Indian immigrants coming to America as they have kids get settled down and kind of adjusting culturally, knowing where you fit in the world as an immigrant. Now, as you can probably guess, I am not an immigrant. I am white as snow. My caucasity is off the charts, but I still really enjoyed this one. And if you come from an immigrant family, I would especially highly recommend this one. This is just a beautiful film. Now moving on to the back here, we actually have another DVD of one of my other 10 out of 10s. This is American Movie, a documentary about these two guys who try to make a horror movie. These guys are just two colorful dudes, kind of the opposite of colorful, like very dry, but just so fun to watch. If you enjoy creating anything really, art or especially movies, I think this is a must watch. Definitely my absolute favorite documentary I've ever seen. Then we have American History X, Back to the Future 30th Anniversary Blu-ray Trilogy. Only seen the first one, absolutely loved it. Watched it pretty recently actually, so gotta get to the other two in that collection. Big Lebowski Steelbook. This is a movie that I liked. I think it's a little overrated. I didn't quite get it, I don't think. I think I'm gonna watch this one again soon because I know people absolutely love this one, and I did think it was pretty funny, but I didn't really see why people think it's a masterpiece, but I gotta give this one another try for sure. Then we have Birdman. I think Whiplash should have beat this for Best Picture, but this is still a beautiful, beautiful movie. Brawl Block in Cell Block 99, one of Vince Vaughn's best performance, if not his best. Just a dark grindhouse prison movie. Love this one. Then we have Buffalo 66. Man, this one is awesome. I don't really want to get too much into what this one is about, but it's very touching. Some people would say it's problematic, but I think this is just a beautiful movie. Then we have Burn After Reading, great comedy with a star-studded cast, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, among many others. Chinatown, I think this movie is overrated, but I still have it in the collection because I think it's decent. Then City of God, amazing, beautiful movie. Then we have a couple Dirty Harry movies. We have Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, The Enforcer, and Sudden Impact. I've watched all these, and I gotta say, Magnum Force and Sudden Impact are my favorites, man. But all these movies are really pretty good. Then we have Django Unchained, Dog Day Afternoon, great performance from a young Al Pacino. We have David Lynch's Dune, which I have not seen yet. I'm waiting to watch the rest of the new Dune movies before I watch that, just because I don't want to get spoiled for anything that may potentially happen. I don't even know if there's anything in that movie that would spoil, but just in case. Then we have The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Fight Club. Then we have Fargo 4K, Game Night, one of my favorite comedies. Besides Jake Gyllenhaal, Jason Bateman has got to be my favorite actor. He's just so funny. I love his dry humor. Then we have Glass, which is the sequel, or one of the sequels to Unbreakable. Some people don't like this movie. I thought it was really good. Good Will Hunting, of course, amazing movie with Robin Williams. We have Grand Budapest Hotel, my favorite movie from Wes Anderson. Then we have The Hateful Eight, have not seen it yet. Harry Potter movies, The Holy Mountain, another mind-bending movie one of my friends put me on. We watched it, I was just blown away by the visuals. Very abstract, but I kind of like those kind of movies, so Holy Mountain definitely scratched that itch for me. Then we have The Holdovers, one of the very new classic holiday movies. This one is just amazing. And then we have The Hunt from Thomas Vinterberg. This is my favorite film of all time. It's not a fun watch. It's very depressing and it just makes you angry, it makes you sad. But when a movie can really make you feel those emotions so strongly, that's what really makes this movie my favorite. Just how it makes me feel so strongly. The emotions are crazy in that one. Then we have I, Tonya, great Margot Robbie performance, really funny, kind of dark comedy. Inglourious Bastards, Kill Bill 1 and 2, amazing Tarantino movies. Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he becomes a kindergarten teacher as an undercover cop. Very fun one, cute seeing him interact with the little kids, as you can probably tell by the cover here. He does not start out having a good time. Then we have The Lobster, my favorite movie from Yorgos. This is a 5 out of 5 in my opinion. A great, very alien-feeling movie about human relationships. And we have the two other Lord of the Rings movies in that trilogy that for some reason weren't with the other ones. And then we have some TV and anime here. We have Breaking Bad, Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack, Silent Voice, my favorite anime movie, right behind your name. Then we have Terror in Resonance, amazing underrated anime, and Prison School. Such a great dub on this one. I still laugh thinking about certain moments in this anime. This is my favorite comedy anime, probably of all time. And below those, we have some more anime. We have the Code Geass Blu-ray box set, which is pretty out of print. One of my favorite anime ever. Then we have the Steelbook for kind of like the counterpart movies, as well as Code Geass Resurrection, I think it's called, a movie that came out somewhat recently. Haven't seen this one yet, but these steelbooks are both pretty expensive, especially sealed. Then The Night Short Walk on Girl, amazing movie. Princess Mononoke, the only Ghibli movie I have in my collection, and it's actually the only one I've seen, but saw it very recently and loved it, so I got the steelbook. Then we have Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, great Dragon Ball movie, I'm a big Dragon Ball fan, and Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I have not watched yet, but my friend got me this Blu-ray for my birthday, so I'm gonna watch it, I promise. And now we finally arrived to the final part of my movie collection. I keep all my 4Ks, or at least most of my 4Ks that aren't horror, together in one spot, because I have a pretty good memory of what I have on 4K, so it doesn't hurt the organization, remember where things are. But yeah, so we'll get right into it. Again, got the double stacked risers, so we'll start off with the H's. We have Heat, Interstellar, a movie I actually haven't seen yet. I was hoping I could catch this when it came to IMAX in that limited run last year, but I live in Iowa and we never have anything nice, so I'll just have to watch the 4K, which I hear is one of the best transfers ever put on disc. Then we have Inception, got really lucky and found this 4K with the slipcover at my used store for like 10 bucks. One of the luckiest I've ever got at that store. Then we have Joker. I actually just watched Folie à Deux, which came out this past year, and I thought it was way overhated. I actually enjoyed it, but I definitely still prefer the original Joker more. Then we have La La Land, which I put in this Blu-ray slipcover just because I think it looks really nice, but we have the 4K here. This is my favorite, or one of my favorite movies ever, probably in my top 5. Then we have Logan, one of the best, I guess, quote-unquote superhero movies ever made, I think. Monkey Man, which I actually watched recently, a very good martial arts film. I don't think I love it enough to keep the 4K, but it's still definitely worth a watch. The director, I forget his name, super talented actor and director. Can't wait to see what he comes out with next. Then we have Mad Max The Road Warrior, my favorite Mad Max movie, right behind Mad Max Fury Road, of course. Then we have The Matrix, of course, classic sci-fi. North by Northwest. I got lucky and got this from the recent Amazon 3 movies for $33 sale. I don't think this was supposed to be part of it because this is super new, but I got this for a little over 11 bucks, so I cannot complain. Then we have The Northman. I think, honestly, a pretty underrated Robert Eggers movie. Need to give this one another watch, though. We have Oppenheimer, my favorite movie from last Oscar season. Then we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Actually, this might be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Pacific Rim. I love mechs, I love Gundam, and seeing Guillermo del Toro make this movie as great as it was, gotta appreciate Pacific Rim. Next we have the Kino Lorber Paths of Glory 4K. You already saw the Criterion version, which I still have for the features on that, but the 4K definitely the best way to watch this movie, and this is just such a beautiful war movie, one of the best. Great Kirk Douglas performance. Again, one of my favorites from Kubrick. Then we have the Planet of the Apes trilogy on 4K. We have The Prestige from Christopher Nolan. This might be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, but that's really hard. Obviously, you guys know, this has so many classics under his belt. Then we have Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Reservoir Dogs, Requiem for a Dream. I believe this was a Best Buy exclusive Steelbook. Really love how this one looks. And of course, if you're looking for like a high stress movie that's just absolutely bizarre, can't go wrong with this one. Next to that we have Scarface. Then you probably couldn't tell by the spine, but as you can see up there, we have the new 7 4K. I hate this packaging. I really wish I would have pulled the trigger on the Steelbook for like $10 more. Now it's out of print, you can't find it anywhere, and just the packaging on this sucks. But you know, it's 7 on 4K, one of my favorite movies, so I can't be too mad to have it on the shelf. Then we have Shawshank Redemption, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and the World's End trilogy. Edgar Wright, we have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are the actors who are in all these movies. Great trilogy, love Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz is my favorite. One of my favorite comedies. The World's End is alright. Not my favorite, obviously, from the trilogy, but still worth the watch. Great little collection there. Then we have Shutter Island, Spartacus, which is the only Stanley Kubrick movie I have not seen yet. Then we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Split, Stand By Me, Tar, which I think is a super underrated movie from 2 Oscar seasons ago. Just Cate Blanchett gives an amazing performance. And if you love music, I would definitely recommend this. It can feel a little highbrow with some of the dialogue, but I still think it is an amazing, amazing movie. Then we have, oh guys, you knew it was coming. What I said earlier about James Cameron 4Ks. We have Terminator 2 Judgment Day, the best action movie, I think, or at least probably top 3 for me. People will shit on this 4K until the day the world explodes, but I personally thought it was pretty good, and this was actually the way I watched the movie for the first time, and honestly, I got no complaints. Next to that, we have Top Gun Maverick, Vertigo, Chernobyl, which is a kind of mini-series from HBO, I think, that I have not watched yet, but I do have it on 4K. And then we have the Oppenheimer Icon Edition. I don't like these editions with the sleeves, but I did buy this for really cheap. I'm trying to sell this right now, so currently I have 2 copies of Oppenheimer. And then behind that, we have the first part of my alphabetized 4Ks. So starting off, we have 1917, a great war movie, 12 Angry Men, of course a classic, 2001 Space Odyssey, which I'm just gonna say right now, is probably my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie, up with Barry Lyndon, but all his movies are just so good. It's really hard to pick. Then we have Akira. You guys know I'm a manga guy. I love the Akira manga, but actually not a big fan of this movie. I think if you want to experience the full story, just read the manga instead. But the visuals and the sound design in this are just obviously classic and so masterful. So I still like having Akira on the shelves there. Then we have Apocalypse Now, the 4-disc 4K set. Great war movie, great from Coppola. Still need to see Megalopolis, but I doubt it's quite as good as this one. Then we have Battle Angel Alita, or I guess it's called Alita Battle Angel, One of my favorite sci-fi manga, and I think this movie is a great adaptation. Hope we get some more from this universe. Then we have Avatar 4K, still need to get Way of Water, which I vastly prefer, but I still really like Avatar, especially on 4K. Then we have The Batman, as well as the Batman, or the Dark Knight trilogy on 4K in that box set there. Then we have Blade Runner 2049. I don't have Blade Runner 4K, but I want the original Blade Runner. I'm not a big fan of it though, but Blade Runner 2049 is a great movie. I think that Ryan Gosling gives an amazing performance. The world is just super fleshed out. Dave Bautista's great in this. I mean, just a great sci-fi movie and looks beautiful on 4K. Then we have Carlito's Way, a very underrated Brian De Palma movie, I must say. Casablanca, of course, a classic, one of my all-time favorites. Casino. I mean, you really can't go wrong with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. And Sharon Stone gives a really great performance. She is super annoying in this movie, but that just goes to show how much she's great at acting that character. Then we have Civil War, one of the best movies to come out from last year. The sound design is amazing, and just visually and sound-wise, this is like a benchmark for 4Ks as far as how good they can be. Clockwork Orange, another classic from Kubrick. The Departed. Then we have the Do the Right Thing. So again, I do have the Criterion, but of course I'm going to watch the movie. This is the actual way I'll watch the feature film. Then we have Dread, one of the coolest steelbooks. I love this cover art. Again, another 4K a lot of people shit on because it's not really a massive upgrade over the Blu-ray, but you know, it still comes with the Blu-ray. I enjoy the 4K, and just this release looks beautiful. Very fun action movie, actually kind of similar to The Raid if you've watched that. Then we have Doctor Strangelove, we have Dune and Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2, amazing movie. This is another 5 out of 5 movie. I believe this was a limited steelbook, so I'm not sure if you can get any more, but love the cover on that one. Then we have Dunkirk, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, Event Horizon. I think this is a very underrated horror movie. If I had to describe it, I'd say it's kind of like Hellraiser in space. There's a lot of lore with this. Like, there was an uncensored cut that we never got. It's been like destroyed forever, so we'll never see it apparently. But man, if we got that cut, this could probably be an all-timer as far as horror goes. Love Event Horizon. Then we have Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. We have the Godfather trilogy on 4K, which I just got this past Christmas. Got to upgrade my Blu-ray. Have not watched any of these 4K discs yet, but I'm sure they're amazing. Then we have Goodfellas, The Green Knight, which I have not seen, and the final movie in the collection, not really a movie per se, but we have Stop Making Sense, the deluxe 4K from A24. I love the Talking Heads. Actually watched this before I was even familiar with a lot of their music, and I just became a huge fan after watching Stop Making Sense. So even if you're not a Talking Heads fan, you don't know any of their stuff, I implore you to watch this. This is probably the best recorded concert you can watch. Just absolutely amazing. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing my entire movie collection. All the Blu-rays, 4Ks, DVDs, VHS, you name it, I got it, and hopefully you enjoyed seeing it. Now, I can't really say if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more movie videos, because that's not really what I do here. But again, my letterbox will be linked down in the description below, so you can keep up to date with the movies that I'm watching and enjoying. And I will say, if you want to stick around for manga content, if that's something you're interested in, as well as movies, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more manga videos. But with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.